Welcome to the Wellness Rebel Show, where you reclaim your health and tap into your body's healing power. I'm your host, Fatima, here to empower you with the knowledge and tools to take charge of your well-being. Whether you want to boost energy, improve mindset, or unlock vitality, this is your go-to source for practical advice and inspiration. It's time to step into your power and live a life of health and freedom. Welcome to the revolution. Hello, everyone. Today I'm joined by Hannah Dunning. She's the host of Hannah Dunning Project, and she's here today to talk all things clean clothing, fashion, and all the things. So this is going to be a great one. Hey, Hannah.
Hi, Fatima. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to finally be meeting you in sort of person. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've been so excited to do this. All right, so let's start off with you introducing yourself and telling us how you got here, why, this area of clean living and whatnot.
Sure, it's a long story, so I'll redact certain parts of it here, but my name is, like you said, Hannah Dunning, and I have dedicated my life to educating and advocating for non-toxic living with an emphasis on clothing, just because I noticed that not a lot of people were talking about it, and it's something that's really important to all of us, because whether we're super into fashion or not so much, we all wear clothes like 24 hours a day, and from the moment we're born to the moment we die. So I noticed a gap in the market in terms of knowledge and understanding of what exactly was in our clothes. And I'm doing a lot in that area right now. I'll try to keep it simple, but my podcast is really sort of the thing that I enjoy the most. And that's the Hannah Dunning Project on Spotify. And really, that's just me sort of documenting, and that's why I call it the project, documenting the process of just learning about being better mentally, physically, and spiritually. And it's been a really cool journey. Podcasts are a great excuse to talk to people you otherwise wouldn't have gotten the chance to talk to. So I'm having a blast with that. I'm really proud of the work I do there. Really, really proud of the guests who come on and share their knowledge in things I had never even considered before. So that's my bread and butter. I'm also on Instagram, Hannah Dunning 11. I try to use that solely for education. I really think it's a cool platform to get in front of people who maybe haven't even thought about their clothing before. And so you'll see me on Instagram quite a bit. And I'm working on a book as well to help people kind of begin the process of thinking about what they put on their bodies, especially in terms of clothing. And that's taking up a lot of my time right now, but I'm also having a blast with that. The research is quite fascinating, and I'm uncovering things I never expected to uncover, and I'm excited to share that with people too. And then on top of that, I have a small consulting firm, and I help businesses, especially in clothing, transition to cleaner, non-toxic products. That can be, helping them with their marketing, their messaging. It could also be helping them with the physical product and the materials and how to make functional, comfortable clothing that's, not toxic for our body. So I'm doing a lot. I'm a mom of two. I'm raising a family. I'm married, so I'm trying to be a good wife all at the same time. It's not easy. And in terms of health, I probably don't get enough sleep. That's probably the area I probably need to work on. But that is me. I'd be happy to tell you a little bit about my story. If do you have any specific place you want me to start? I don't want to bore anybody, and it's quite a long one.
Well, let's start with why did you decide to look into, like changing up your lifestyle and cleaning it up? Like, did you have any health struggles?
Yeah, I almost feel like my whole life sort of led up to this now, looking back. But of course, when you're in the moment, it's not always easy to tell. I think if you had told me I would be dedicating my life to this, 5, 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have believed you. And for me, I have a long storied history of some family health issues, right? My grandmother had a very aggressive form of breast cancer twice. My aunt had some blood cancer. The big C word was sort of always on the forefront of our mind. It was something that sort of, we were always thinking about, but didn't quite know how to address. And then things sort of just started layering on top of that. I would consider myself pretty healthy to start, but then when I got pregnant with my first son, I experienced cholestasis of pregnancy, which is essentially when your liver just shuts down. And it's super rare. And in fact, I remember going to my midwife towards the end of my pregnancy and feeling really itchy. And I remember having the conversation with her, and she told me, we're going to test you for this one thing, but I just want you to know in my entire career, I've seen one case, and it was someone much older than you, much sicker than you. We should be good to go. They called me less than 24 hours later and said, your liver's shutting down. We're going to need you to deliver in a week. So I think that was probably my first run in with my own health in terms of it not functioning the way I would have wanted it to. And what's funny is that wasn't even enough of a wake up call for me. They told me that it was just a random thing that happened to some women in pregnancy. And while it's still not totally understood, I now know this was my body's cry for help. Your liver is one of the main detoxers in your body. And especially when you're pregnant and you're detoxing for two, it is really an indicator that your body is not detoxing the way it needs to. And there is likely a massive overload of toxins if your liver shuts down. So it took me, frankly, and this is embarrassing, but I'll be transparent. It took another pregnancy and the same thing happening. My liver shut down again for me to finally look in the mirror and say, I am not doing something right. Something is not working here. And maybe it's genetic, but I have to also acknowledge that I have not done everything I could do to ensure that it's genetic and it's not lifestyle. And that was really sort of the moment post giving birth to my second child where I decided I need to take my health into my own hands. And that began the journey, the long journey of where I am today. I had a couple miscarriages sprinkled in there. I had a really crazy experience with excessive bleeding for about 3 months long. And it was in that moment where I said, okay, it's not just about my toxic load and, the things I'm putting in my body. We also have some hormonal issues here. And I really began a journey of getting to the bottom of the hormones. So those health experiences were probably the main catalysts for why I literally dedicated my entire life to living cleaner. And after the experience with excessive bleeding for 3 months, I had like 6 different doctors tell me everything was fine, and everything was not fine. I could not even go to the grocery store comfortably. I couldn't live that way. And I was tired of hearing that it was normal. And that was when I got really obsessive because I was miserable. And so my poor husband, I went through our entire kitchen. I got rid of everything with any ingredient that I didn't know and understand, especially recognize. I went through our bathrooms, got rid of literally everything, every chemical. We don't use chemicals in our house. The only chemical we use is, what is it? Not hydrogen peroxide. The other one.
Hyperchlorous acid.
Yes, thank you for cleaning. Yeah. So, I went hardcore, and then that led me to, of course, my makeup, my products, what we were putting on our bodies. And then there was just this huge gap still when I realized I was wearing a shirt one day and I was a little itchy and I had detoxed everything in my life. And all of a sudden now my skin's itchy and I'm like, well, this is my favorite shirt. I wear this all the time. What the heck's going on? I'm having an allergic reaction. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is full of chemicals. I am wearing a shirt made out of plastic. I've gone out of my way to get rid of all plastic in our home, and I'm wearing it and sleeping in it every single day. And that's really kind of when the dominoes fell, and I realized I need to pay attention to our clothes.
Yeah. That's a good story too, because it's kind of the way I did it too. I changed everything. And the last thing was the clothes. Like I was still, well, when had my baby, I made sure I wore organic cotton nursing tanks because I'm like, I'm holding the baby. But I was still wearing my LuLaRoe leggings, I'm like, because I was living in leggings. And then eventually I was like, you know what? I'm putting my kids in organic cotton clothing, making sure they're all good and clean. And how about me? And so I slowly started cleaning up my closet. But yeah, I love the topic of clothes because, like you said, not a lot of people talk about it. And it's really overlooked. Like, we're wearing plastic, we're not letting our skin breathe, and especially the underwear. I feel like underwear is the worst offender, right?
Yeah, my real qualm is with workout clothing.
Oh, yeah.
Underwear and bras are extremely important. And when people say, I want to transition to clean clothing, I always recommend starting with the bras and underwear. But workout clothing to me is the most ridiculous thing ever. We are wearing, especially Lululemon, it is chock full of toxic chemicals. You literally cannot create a stretchy fabric like that
Hmm.
out of plastic without using thousands of chemicals.
Yeah.
And most women working out in those clothes, a lot of them don't wear underwear, for one. So it's right there. And then for two, you are literally, you know how people won't drink out of plastic water bottles that have been sitting in the sun? That's
Hmm.
exactly what your body is wearing workout clothing like that. You are covering yourself in plastic and putting yourself in heat. And then you're working out and your pores open. It is the worst. I mean, I really don't think it could get worse other than I've seen people go into saunas wearing synthetic fibers. And that is the
Yeah.
thing that I'm really like, I will almost say something and be that person because that really is now the worst case scenario.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, that's a good thing to put out there a lot because I see a lot of women, they're like, I'm never gonna give up my stretchy workout
Hmm.
Lululemon. How do you say it?
Lululemon. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Lulu.
they're like, it's their favorite, right? They can't give it up.
Hmm.
That's gonna be their 20%. But to me, that could never be my 20%, especially knowing what's in there and then just
Yeah.
absorbing all of that in your body. Yeah, I didn't
Hmm.
even think about that. Like the body heat, it's like leaving your
Oh,
plastic bottle in the sun.
it's so bad,
Ah.
Fatima. And I always say with the 20% thing, I hate to sound so dramatic, really I do. I'd like to be more chill and easygoing. 20%, you can't do something 20% every day of your life. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like, that's not
yeah,
20% at that point, that's 80% because you're wearing
right.
it every day of your life. Lululemon has done a pretty good job in my opinion. Well, of course, of marketing. I mean, come on. I wore Lulu. They were the thing. Lululemon leggings were a sign of just superiority in middle school for me and high school,
Yeah,
and everyone wore them. Everyone on their Christmas list, Lululemon leggings. Like that was the thing. So they're marketing and branding geniuses. Let's give them that. But then on top of it, they have done a really good job of making themselves seem very pro body and pro environment, which a lot of these workout companies, if not all of them, do. You will watch ads. I just saw an ad for Aloe the other day, which it's all the same, by the way. Lululemon's just an easy target because it's the biggest name, but they're all the same. I saw an ad for Aloe the other day, and the chick walks into a sauna in her Aloe gear and sits down. And you're better off never walking into a sauna in your life than using a sauna and wearing that crap.
yeah,
It is better just to not use a sauna. And saunas are amazing for detoxing. They're amazing. But again, if you're walking in with clothing that has like BPA, PFAs, all the bad stuff, and you're sitting in high heat, sweating, it is a recipe for disaster. So I hate to be dramatic, but I just can't believe people don't talk about this, really.
yeah.
I don't even know how we've gone this long without this being illegal in terms of what they're putting in our clothes.
Right. And not only that too, it's like you have the heavy metals from the dyes and all
Um,
these. What? So I have a quick question. Would you know a lot of people when they're trying to switch over, right? And then they can't afford organic cotton, so they'll look for
mhm,
100% cotton. And I always say, like, well, they're highly sprayed. 95% of cotton
mhm,
is GMOs. But, obviously you do what you can. And so they're wondering, do these
mhm,
pesticides ever get washed, the pesticides and the other chemicals that they spray on them, do they ever get washed off throughout its life? And so
mhm.
would it be better to get it secondhand, or what's your take on that?
Yeah. Yes, it's a great question. It's a really popular question. And it's the same question I asked myself too when I went through our entire closet and got rid of everything and we were left with like three shirts, if that. I don't even think my husband had three shirts left. Um, yeah, so practically and realistically speaking, if you cannot afford to go out and buy new organic clothing, thrifting is always the best option, but thrifting of natural fibers. So, yes, like don't go thrift any synthetic fibers. That defeats the whole purpose. You should never wear synthetic fibers again. Thrifting cotton is probably what I would recommend because you can wash off the chemicals that have been sprayed on top. So, formaldehyde or any wrinkle resistant
Yeah.
crap that they, spray on before it's shipped. You'll minimize those, but to answer your question about pesticides, they do not wash out. They are a part of the crop itself now.
Yeah. Yeah.
right? They come through the soil, they're sprayed on top, it's absorbed into the plant, it's now in the fibers. And these are also really gnarly pesticides too. And you can see cancer clusters for a lot of them amongst the farms and the farm workers that work with them every day. So it's a humanitarian issue as well as a health issue.
Yeah.
But it's sort of the lesser of two evils, I would say, and it's an okay place to start. I highly, a whole part of what I really try to get across is to buy less.
Yep.
Buy so much less. Save up, stop, buying. We're so addicted to buying, and I get it. I was too. I used to work for Amazon. I am not casting judgment, but the buying mentality and culture is really devastating for many reasons, but financially is one of them too. And if you can really work on not buying more and buying better less often, it will really change your world in terms of, what your closet looks like and what's in it. Our closets are 10 times on average too big. Like most of us don't wear 90% of what's in it. If you can minimize to, 6 or 7 shirts that are really high quality that you take care of, that last a long time, that are pesticide and synthetic free, that's really what we should ideally all be shooting for. And so I understand why there are cost limitations. I guess what I'm saying is, yes, if you need to start today, thrift, wash it a couple times before you wear it, and then moving forward, save up to buy organic,
Yeah.
natural clothing items.
Yeah. High quality.
High quality, yeah.
Yeah. I know. I see some people's closet. I'm not casting judgment either, but yeah, some closets are bigger than my kid's bedroom.
Yeah,
Our
and
house.
you know,
Go ahead.
well, I was gonna say what it can be such a negative conversation, but I have to say I'm seeing really cool sort of, I hope they're not trends, but I'm seeing a difference on social media of it being normalized and even almost glamorized in terms of re-wearing outfits
Yeah.
and thrifting, and that culture is, it's coming back. There's always
Yeah.
been a generation like that. We had that in the 70s where it was like the cool thing to do is like rewear the Levi jeans so that you have to wear 50 times before they break in. So each generation has had their version, but I will say I think we're starting to see a shift, which
Mhm.
is positive in it being normalized to wear less and
Yeah.
rewear things.
Right. Hey, I got this on Poshmark.
Yeah, see, and that's cool. And I got this on Mercari, and that's cool. There's
Yeah.
something almost just, I don't know, nostalgic even about thrifting.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And especially with kids because they grow so fast. I've just been making
Hmm.
it a habit too to like look on eBay, yeah, Mercari, Poshmark, even on Facebook, buy and sell trade
Hmm.
groups. And
Absolutely.
if you really need to buy new and you feel like the cost is a barrier, you can wait for the big sales.
Hmm.
Where like sometimes like Kate Quinn, I love Kate Quinn for kids clothes, and they have price point sales. Sometimes there's like little onesies that's like $2 and it's organic.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
there's ways to go about it. But yeah, the initial like that's initial swap, I feel like sometimes people get so overwhelmed because they
Hmm.
see the cost, like the regular retail price. But if you think about
Hmm.
it, I saw someone make a post about cost per wear, right? So she said she bought this linen dress for let's say $100, but she's worn it 300 times over 10 years because it was
Hmm.
more comfortable. She bought a synthetic dress for $30, but she only wore it 2 times because it broke and it was hot. Like if you think about it, in the long run, it's cheaper to buy good, high quality, well made clothes over just
Yes.
buying so many.
Hmm. Yep.
You
And
can wash them.
exactly. I think this is also where the lost art of sewing comes into play too. And that's something I'm wanting to learn more about is mending my own
Mhm.
clothes.
Yeah.
And I tried it because I have two rough and tumble boys. I have a 3-year-old and a 4-year-old, and we live in Hawaii, and we are outside 90% of the day in Hawaiian red dirt, and their clothes don't stand a chance. And every single pair of their pants has some hole somewhere. And I think that's another really interesting thing to look into as well as mending. And it's therapeutic. It is so therapeutic. It is so gratifying to be able to extend the life of something that you care for. It's sort of like that Marie Kondo concept, and it sounds a little nutty until you try it. But Marie Kondo speaks to items, and if you've watched her show before, I think it's on TLC or something, or maybe HGTV, I can't remember. But if you watch her show, when she gets rid of things, she thanks them. Thank you for the role that you played, and you are no longer of service. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that concept of treating things like they are living. And if you start doing that, you start taking care of them. And then all of a sudden you're extending the lifetime of them. And then all of a sudden you're spending less money and you're exposing yourself to less chemicals and toxins. Food for
yeah.
thought.
Right. I know. I have a sewing machine, but I'm still trying to learn to use it. But I like to hand sew. I mend my kids their knees. It's the knees always gets
It's the
rips, right?
knees. Actually, there was this, I'm going to air her episode in a couple weeks here, but I had this wonderful woman on who owns a kids brand called Hello Jackalow, and she makes organic, fair trade kids clothes. And she has so many strategies. The knees on all of her pants are double padded with the fabric. And it's woven in a way too where it is more durable. So even if they break through the first layer, there's already a second layer there, which I thought was just absolutely genius. Oh my gosh. I don't know what
That's
just
a
happened there.
first.
It's literally never happened to me
I
before.
know.
If you're
That was
listening, they
kind
were
of
just
cool.
I raised my hands and fireworks happened. I
That
am
was
shocked
interesting.
and what the heck? All right, we're gonna roll with it.
No, I've heard of that brand. I've looked into it because I know that it's also like they make it where it can grow with your kids, right? Like you can
Yeah.
like break off the seams, make it them longer, and then adjustable waist. Which my oldest one is so tall and so skinny. I'm like, he fits size 8, but they're high water pants. I'm like, I feel so bad for
Yeah.
you. Yeah. And
Yeah,
you buy
that's
the size
exact.
10. You have to like tie it really tight and it looks like a balloon.
He would do well in some Hello Jackalow. And her
Yeah.
stuff too, it's again your point in price per wear. It's going to be more expensive when you compare it to something you'll buy at Target. But
Yeah.
how long her clothes last, I mean, it makes so much financial sense. It makes sense for the planet, it makes sense for your health. So there are companies like that exist. It just takes work to find them. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing because we should be slowing down buying purchases anyways. It's very healthy to research a company, understand where their products are coming from, who's making them, what's the story behind it. And by that time, you've probably done enough research where if you're still pulling the trigger on buying something, you likely need it. It's not a quick haul that you regret the
Right.
next day.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so true. Even I've learned that even with our sheets. Before I'm like I buy kind of a few and I'm like when I take it off, I can just wash it immediately and put it back on. Like, what am I doing? I
Hmm.
don't have space to store them. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, I have all these sheets that I haven't used. Now I'm like, I'm going to have to sell these sheets.
Yeah, and sheets are actually a really interesting one in terms of fabrics because our body does most of its detoxing at night. That's a huge reason why we even sleep to begin with. And so, sort of the same concept of getting into the sauna, right? The sauna is meant to detox. And if you're putting harmful toxins and chemicals on your skin while your body's trying to detox, it does the complete opposite of what you're trying to do. The same is true with sleeping. So if you are sleeping on sheets that are synthetic or not organic, frankly, not natural fiber based, or maybe, they're just regular cotton even, it's defeating the purpose of detox time when you're sleeping. And I remember if you had told me that 10 years ago, I would have been like, that is so dramatic and excessive. But the research shows how important detox time is and then also how permeable our skin is. And I get a lot of people that'll say, well, Hannah, our skin's a barrier. Every day, actually. I get DMs every day about this, every single day, without fail. Somebody
Yeah.
is going to say, our skin is a barrier. What's the research showing that this stuff is making? Our skin is a fantastic barrier. It's also an organ. It's not, our bodies are not designed to be in contact with chemicals. Our ancestors did not have chemicals. Our skin was a barrier against wind, sun, dirt, water. We were not talking about compounds made up of thousands of different kinds of chemicals. And so two things can be true at once. And what I would say is just, start doing the research. It doesn't have to be overwhelming, but it is important. And bedding is another very, you know, important aspect to look into if you're wanting to switch over to a non-toxic lifestyle.
Yeah, yeah. And we spend what they say 1/3 of our lives in bed, right? So
Yeah,
that's very significant. And
yeah,
if you haven't noticed, when you sleep on synthetic bedding, you get really hot. That's why I
yeah.
bring my sheets to the hotels because I never sleep good on their sheets.
That's next level. That's so true. Yep.
Their sheets are so loud too. It's annoying. Like every time you move, it's like I'm like, what is this?
That's hilarious and so true. That's definitely, there's a new era of, there's actually, I forget what, you can find Airbnbs that are non-toxic, I know with cleaning products.
Ooh,
Still, you'll probably have to bring your own sheets, but
yeah,
we're seeing a big shift in people move away from hotels and towards Airbnbs that aren't using harmful chemicals for cleaning supplies or candles or what have you, which I find really fascinating.
yeah, yeah. I know the horror is when you go into your Airbnb and there's plugins everywhere.
Blade, blade in each corner.
It's like
I know.
no.
It's wild how after you detox too, your body will find that offensive. I
Uh
mean,
huh.
even I'll be grocery shopping and somebody will walk down the aisle and I'll be hit with this wall of perfume and I'm like,
Yep.
oh, like
Yeah.
I almost can't even hold back. I don't know who I've become, but it's so aggressive.
Yeah, it is. It should be illegal to put, I don't know, put that much perfume or to use perfume, especially in
Yeah.
elevators.
Oh my gosh. It's like secondhand smoking. It's one thing if
Yeah.
you want to smoke. I really would say it's very unwise, but don't smoke next to somebody else.
Yeah.
Secondhand smoke,
Yep.
secondhand fragrance, right? Fragrance is
Yeah.
one of the gnarliest things you could actually put on or in your body. It is a lethal combination of chemicals that you're just microdosing over time.
Right.
So that,
And
oh my gosh.
they do say that now they've, with all the studies, fragrance is literally considered like worse than secondhand smoke, they say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I believe
I
it.
have a funny story with my kid because, we were fragrance free and all that stuff. And we were in an elevator and this one man came on. He was just doused in perfume. And I think he was still 4 or 5. And he goes, Mom, it stinks in here. And I just looked at my husband and I just laughed because I knew he was talking about the perfume. I'm like, oh,
Right?
kids. I
And
think
they'll,
my husband just said, I think he just said, I farted or
oh
something
my
like that.
gosh, that's hilarious. He saved the moment, saved some embarrassment for the man and took it on himself. That's amazing. Yeah, kids will say that's a really actually interesting aspect of this whole journey with my kids is trying to get on their level and explaining what we're doing and why we do things
Yeah.
differently than, some people that they know or their friends. And it's a hard conversation to navigate. And I also get a lot of questions about that because, you don't want to over extend in one direction and have your kids just go absolutely wild when they're like an age and they can eat
Yeah.
sugar without you being there, whatever. You really want to explain the why. And that can be hard to
Yep.
do for little ones. And that's been something we've been navigating too, is having conversations about how amazing our bodies are and how when we treat our bodies well, our bodies can do incredible things. Unfortunately, when we don't treat our bodies the way they deserve to be treated, you'll start to see your body hurt or your body gets sick, your body will break down. And so those are really important conversations to have with the little ones.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Especially if, we can't put them in a bubble. They're going to have friends who don't live
Yeah.
the same lifestyle. And so they start questioning, like, why can't I have the same thing that they're having? And, obviously now that I have some that's older, I'm like, well, it's your choice. Like, see how your body feels after you eat that thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes, even with Halloween, and when they were younger, I was able to do like the whole switch witch, or is that what it's called?
Oh yeah.
Switch witch.
Yeah, the switch
But
during Halloween.
now they're like, yeah, now they're like, no, we're gonna trade our candies with our friends, blah blah blah. And so sometimes I'm like, man, I should let them eat all their candy in one sitting so that they'll
Yeah.
see how they feel.
I listen, whatever works, and I feel like every parent has to really trust their gut on what they feel is right for their kids too. It could be different than what your neighbor or your friend does. But I think what's really empowering to remember, and I tell myself this all the time, because you're right, they can't be a bubble boy. They're going to be exposed to other
Yeah.
things, especially at school, right? There's parties, birthday parties, holiday parties. And what I remind myself is when your toxic load is reduced, your body is able to then handle, because we are incredible detoxers. Our
Yep.
liver, our kidneys, our whole body is just absolutely programmed to get bad stuff out in order to survive. And so if we're empowering our body to do its job and we're taking any opportunity that's feasible to give it good things versus bad things, our body more often than not is going to be able to handle the things that aren't great for it.
Yep.
The real issue is where at every turn, which that is what we're facing today, is
Right.
you walk into the bathroom, you've got hairspray, dry shampoo, makeup, all of which has terrible chemicals in it. Toothpaste, your toothbrush, plastic toothbrush, your toilet paper. I mean, it is quite literally everything. And, if you are not working hard, which unfortunately you do have to work hard to reduce those things because they're so prevalent, if you're not working hard to reduce those things in your home, that's when we see buildup of toxins in bodies that result in chronic disease. So, and I meant that to be positive, what I just said, but I guess it kind of sounds overwhelming. The truth of the matter is, it is overwhelming. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's not right. We shouldn't have these things in products. They
Yeah.
shouldn't be allowed. Companies shouldn't be choosing to put them in. It is not right. And unfortunately, the burden is on parents or on yourself or on, the consumer. The burden is
Yeah.
on the consumer today.
Yeah.
And that's just the
Buyer
way that the cookie
beware.
has crumbled. Yeah, buyer beware. Correct.
I always say that too. It's like just control what, the things that go into your home. Control what you can, and
Right.
some other things you just have to really let go of and not
Hmm.
go crazy. Because I've seen this movement too. Like some people, they make the switch and then they're like, "Oh, now I'm gonna be like more flexible because they got, what's it called? I forget the term of it, where they get so obsessed with, let's say, eating clean, and then when they go to the
Oh,
restaurants, or I can't remember the word. It's not
yeah, I'm not
anorexic,
gonna.
but it's
Yeah, no,
another.
but I know it's
It's
like
kind of like
so
toxic,
extreme.
like
You
so
can't.
toxic. Yeah, like you can't go outside anymore because you're just so
Yeah,
like, oh, everything's a toxin. Like, no, we're meant
right.
to live our lives. Just control what you can and leave the rest. You know, it's like bless and release.
Well, fear is, and I know,
Yeah.
everyone knows this, but fear is the worst thing you could do for your nervous system. If
Hmm.
cortisol's high, your fight or flight reflexes are in, ready to go, you're not meant to live in a prolonged state that way, right? Fight or flight is the bear's running at you, you need to run. It
Yep.
shouldn't be all day long, I'm concerned about XYZ. It's not sustainable and frankly will do the opposite of what you're hoping to do.
Yeah.
One note that I want to mention too that really, I get feedback sometimes and it's, hey, this is a pretty elitist view because most people can't today go in their, we'll just say bathroom right now. Most people
Yeah.
can't just go into their bathroom and trade out all of the products they have for clean ones. And that is so true. And what I did, I didn't go out and buy all new products. What I did is I just focused on reducing.
Hmm.
And it is truly amazing how little we actually need.
Yep.
And when I put those sort of glasses on and I started viewing my bathroom as something that had too much in it and I just needed less of everything, it was really way easier to say, all right, do I really need a chemical spray just for the sink? No.
Right.
Like they market it
Yeah.
literally just for a sink cleaner. Okay, what does that even mean? Is it any different than anything else you use to clean your house? No, it's all the same chemicals. Do I need those
Yeah.
chemicals? No. So I got rid of them. So I would also just say, like, you need I mean, there's so many things you just frankly don't need that the marketing teams from these companies have fantastically sort of weaved this narrative or woven this narrative that we need these things and we don't.
Yeah. I know. I feel like going low tox, toxic free, goes hand in hand with like becoming a minimalist almost, because you learn, like with us before, our bathroom used to be like all these products. Now we just use bar soap, or sometimes we just have like shampoo, because once you detox your scalp, you don't even really need conditioner. And our shampoo lasts for so long because we don't wash our hair every single
Mhm.
day. But yeah, like eventually you when you change your lifestyle, you'll also make those like different shifts in your like habits that you're so used to, and then you'll find that it is not that expensive to live
Yeah.
lower tox, and then you'll find that your bodies are healthier, and then
Mm.
you're less sick. Then you're also saving money on that side,
Yep.
right?
Oh my gosh, there's this hilarious, okay, so I made this video on Instagram and it was exactly what you're talking about. It was that trend and it was, I forget, minimalistic living trend or something. I forget what it was
Uh-huh.
called. And I
Zero
just,
waste or something.
yeah,
Zero waste. Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that. Or it was
yeah.
under consumption core is what they
Oh,
called
okay.
it.
All right. Okay.
But I showed like our bedding's super simple. I have almost nothing in my makeup drawer. And anyways, at the end, my kids had just walked in. I'm making the video, and my kids had just walked in from playing outside with their dad, and they're just head to toe, just dirt all over them, just so dirty. Like their shirt, I mean, they looked like straight out of the Dust Bowl for real. Raggedy clothes that they'd ripped running. I don't know. And so I took a video of them and I was like, part of the underconsumption core, minimal baths for kids, LOL. Like, totally joking. And I know better. I posted it as a joke. I thought it was hilarious. I still think it's hilarious. But I got shredded on the internet about the safety of my kids and not cleaning them and how disgusting I am. And, I was like, okay, guys, I wash my kids. They take so many showers, but but at the same time, also they probably do take way less baths and showers than the average American kid, and they're not using chemical soaps. So
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people think that's gross, but you know what? It's actually really important to protect their little skin biomes and not
Yep.
destroy everything on your skin's barrier every night before bed. It is not healthy to do that. And that's really mind blowing. Now, there's a difference between like we're washing hands and we're using antibacterial hand soap, okay? Like that was a huge deal when the world discovered antibacterial hand soap and it saved millions and millions of lives. I think there's like data that all they needed for like the Black Plague or some crazy disease, which is hand soap. It eradicated just crazy disease. So let me just be clear and say I am pro sanitation. We're not encouraging detrimental germs in our home, but I am not washing my kids with Irish Spring every night either.
Yeah. I know. Our
So
skin has a microbiome too. We need the good and bad bacteria in balance. We can't just like wash them off, even the
yeah,
good. You're washing off the good ones too. So it's really just about balance. And to me, if they're not dirt, like if unless they're like out there rolling around and what they're touching cow poop or chicken
yeah,
poop, and it's like there's a difference. But that's fine.
totally.
Okay, let's.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I want to touch on bamboo because I know we don't use it, but I know a lot of people really, really love it because it's so soft. And obviously, in the beginning, it was touted as the new eco-friendly, sustainable
Yeah,
fabric, blah blah blah, right? And then, so I want you. Can you share? I'm not. I'm gonna let you share about it. Like, tell me
yeah,
all the things about bamboo.
totally. Oh, bamboo has a wild history. It is actually a really dark, depressing story. There is a book called Fake Silk. I forget who wrote it. I think it's on the other side of my room right now, but um, the factory workers, in theory, so bamboo itself is not bad, obviously. It's an amazing plant. It takes very little water. It's very no pesticides needed because it's a hard wood. So you don't have to worry about bugs destroying the plant during the growth process. In theory, it's an excellent alternative to a lot of fabrics that we use today, especially synthetics. The future looks very bright for bamboo. However, what happened is around World War II, I believe they started figuring out that these chemicals that they had created could be used to turn, certain things into different things. And there was a world race to come up with these new materials, whether it be for wartime use or elsewhere, just for money. And what we saw a lot of businesses or a lot of factories who had been 100% dedicated to making wartime products for the world wars go essentially out of business when the wars ended. So they had to transition really quickly. And they had to figure out, okay, well, how can we use the same chemicals and materials that we have to create something for everyone else, essentially? And they started using, I'm going to forget the chemical name, something dichloride. I forget the exact chemical that they use in virtually all bamboo products, even still today. It is one of the most toxic chemicals known to mankind. This stuff, if you got a whiff of it and you're working in a factory, creating bamboo products, it would drive you clinically insane to the point where they had several cases of people being exposed to it and going on to murder people or going on to, wild, wild stuff. It sounds like a science fiction novel when you go back and read the things that have happened when these people were exposed to this chemical. That chemical is still used in over 90% of all bamboo fabric today. The difference is they've made the process such that there's little to no exposure anymore to the chemical. So the factory workers, we now have the machines and the processes where, it's not being pumped into the air and driving everyone in the factory insane. But the problem is the chemical is still used. And you'll see these companies say, well, yes, we use this chemical, but we have not found it in our products. And I just don't buy it. If it's going to be used on a product to turn it from something that's as hard as wood to something that's as stretchy as anything you'd ever find, I'm having a hard time believing that none of the chemicals used in that process are going to touch my skin or my baby's skin. And that's really where my big issue with bamboo is a lot of it is used for baby clothing. And it became this like Instagram mom trend where everyone wanted the bamboo baby pajamas. And I get it because they are so soft and so stretchy, but the chemicals used are so bad. Now, the caveat to that is there have been incredible developments in the world of bamboo today that don't require this specific toxic chemical. And I think it's really important to remember the name of the chemical. So before we end today, I'm gonna, because because you can actually ask businesses, do you use this chemical? And
Okay.
if they don't know, don't buy their bamboo product. But 99% of them will know, and they have to disclose it. But what you can look for are companies who use natural enzymes to break down bamboo instead of this toxic chemical. And we're seeing many more do that because they are recognizing that the consumer doesn't want to wrap their baby in something that's been treated with a chemical that is so incredibly toxic. So there is a bright future ahead for bamboo. It's just that the past has been really upsetting. And most of the bamboo products today are still using that chemical. One other thing you can look for is you can ask a business who's selling a bamboo products, especially baby products, hey, what is the process you use to break the bamboo down? And if they use the chemical, it's disulfide. The second part of it is disulfide. If they use that chemical, it's a no. If they say we use natural enzymes, you should look into it further. They might be actually a great fit. There's also Tencel. Now I'm forgetting. Oh my gosh. It is, wow, I'm totally blanking, but Tencel is a big company out of Denmark.
Yeah,
And
I think it's
they
like Lenzig.
Yeah, lensing
Yeah,
modal. Thank you.
yeah,
I
that one.
just so blanked hard on that. I literally talk about this every day, and I just saw that. Yes, thank you. Lensing modal. So Lensing is a company who has come out with this incredible process that uses one non-toxic chemical. It's still a chemical. So if you're totally anti-chemical, just stick with natural fibers like organic cotton. But if you're open to new technology that is non-toxic, like you could dip your hand in it, then lensing moldal is a great example of how to turn hard bamboo into soft bamboo.
Yeah, and I know they have a closed loop process. It's a very clean process
Yeah.
that they
Yep.
do. So,
Yep.
yeah, that's
It's the future is bright. It's not that we don't have people or machines intelligent enough to make incredible fabric clean.
Yeah.
Straight up, that it is totally possible. It has to do with consumer demand. And the moment that these huge businesses realize all of these people want something specific, they have the time, money, and resources to dedicate to creating it. So,
Right. Yeah.
the chicken and the
No,
egg thing.
they have, they can afford it. It's like, I find it funny. This is not fabric related, where I bought this skincare line and I thought it was going to be in glass because it's very clean. The ingredients are so clean. And it came to me and it was in plastic. And I'm like, why? And I asked them, like, do you guys have plans to switch to bottles? Or, like, and their excuse is it's, like the shipping, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, I use another brand that uses glass and it's no problem, So I'm just like,
Yeah.
do better.
Oh, the
Come on.
plastic thing. I know. It's such a big deal. I hate to be, I get so annoyed with myself when I talk because I'm like, oh, it's just so depressing to think about microplastics, and I talk about them
Uh-huh.
every single day, but they are such a huge issue. Microplastics are our generation's, I don't know, arsenic. I mean, lead,
Yeah.
like bad, bad. And
Yeah.
but it's not the same in terms of if you're exposed to microplastics, you're not immediately rendered, you don't have brain damage immediately, but it is
Yeah.
microdosing really gnarly toxins your entire life. We're going to need to fact check this. I saw data that said the average person eats a
Yeah.
credit card size worth of plastic a week.
Yep. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
week.
I
And
know.
we don't have, I mean, we know that some of it has to leave our body, of course, but there's a lot of data with nanoplastics crossing the blood-brain barrier and going to your brain.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. And it does matter for people like you when you get a product with amazing intentions behind it, in a plastic bottle. It's important that you say something, because
Yeah.
that's how companies end up actually, switching and implementing good changes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I know. Plastic is crazy. And if your detox organs are or already overloaded, then guess what? Where aside from the brain, the microplastics they'll get stored in the fat, and that's how they have the
Yes.
obesogens. They're considered obesogens. That's why more and more people are having a harder time losing weight because of
Yes.
that. Like it's one um, factor into weight loss
Yeah.
resistance.
So I had this amazing doctor on my podcast. Her name's Dr. Lee Erin Connolly, and she is a functional oncologist. She's incredible. And one of the most fascinating things she said to me on the podcast was obesity works as another organ. So basically, the fat, to your point, the fat actually secretes hormones the way an organ would. And so the damage, and so our body uses fat to protect ourselves from toxins. So, if you have a toxin enter into your bloodstream, your body's reaction a lot of times is going to be to send a fat cell out to it to cover it up and protect your body from it. It's amazing. That's why our
Yeah.
bodies are amazing. But then, it piles up enough, and all of a sudden, all of this fat is now secreting endocrine disrupting hormones. Well, I guess they're hormones themselves, but basically throwing your entire hormone system off track.
Yeah.
And that can have devastating impacts in all areas of your body. But isn't that fascinating that fat can actually work as an extra organ in a bad way? Like
Right. Yeah.
crazy.
No, but yeah, you're right. Our bodies are amazing, and our body's main goal is to keep us alive. So it will do
Yeah,
everything it can to keep you from being poisoned.
right.
And these days, it's really not normal for us to be bombarded by this much toxins on the daily. And so it's like our everything is working against our body, but our bodies are really trying to keep us alive. So
Hmm.
don't get mad at your body if you start seeing it, like, oh, now I can't lose weight. I used to be able to lose weight so quickly, but your body is
Yeah.
literally just protecting you.
Yeah, absolutely. A good relationship with your body is key to all of this. It can get really depressing and depleting if you're not working with yourself.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Now, after bamboo, let's talk about wool.
Hmm.
Because, wool, superwashed wool, right? Like it's for convenience. And I know there's better processes now too, but can you also tell us like what's wrong with superwash wool and why we should seek out other like processes and how, other ways that the wool is made and produced?
Yeah, so I mean, anytime you're trying to take something from one thing to something much different, you should be weary. And what I mean is, anytime, you have a product and it needs to be really, really soft, but naturally it's very, very hard, you should always be scrutinizing the process that it took to get something to another thing. And especially, there's a lot of problems with superwashing anything in general. You can strip things of also the good components that they have, right? Wool itself has a lot of amazing benefits. I mean, the reason why sheep have wool is incredible because it can adjust to cold climates or warm climates. You can wear merino wool in Hawaii and feel cooler than somebody who's wearing a bathing suit will. You can also wear it, in the alpine area of Tahoe, whatever, and feel really warm. There's amazing components with it. And so anytime you are chemically treating a fabric, even if it starts as natural, just like bamboo, it starts as a really, really good thing. If you're chemically treating it to a point where you can't even recognize what the original use of it was, it's not a good thing. But what I would say for wool is find a business who's very small and wants to stay small. For me, has been the best way to start my journey on finding a great wool. And it matters ethically too. You don't want to find a company who has a huge farm where the animals aren't being treated well and maybe the people helping in the process aren't paid well or treated well either. There's so many businesses, especially with wool, who are very passionate about the entire process from the beginning to the end. And wool is one of the most incredible things you can put on your body. And it's something that human beings likely were meant to put on their body because we,
Yeah.
came from, a lot of us came from the same place that sheep came from. And they were always there with us, living next to us. And that is what a lot of our ancestors used in terms of clothing. Now, that said, on a personal note, I have to just be totally honest. I'm a little bit allergic to wool. And there are a lot of people who are a little bit allergic to wool. But for everyone out there, if you've not tried wool yet, it is not meant to be itchy. Wool is one of the softest fabrics you will wear, assuming you're wearing it from a company who's not treating it with harsh chemicals or adding crazy dyes to it. It will feel very soft. But there is a small percentage of the population who's a little bit allergic and it'll feel itchy and prickly, and that's not normal. So if that's you, if you've tried wool and it's felt a little itchy or prickly and you're sure that it came from a great source that's using the right things, you're probably a little bit allergic. Just a little pro tip there.
Yeah, yeah. I know. Wool is so incredible. And then now let's touch on linen. Because I know that linen is kind of like bamboo, right? They're very resilient. They don't need a lot of inputs like fertilizers and pesticides.
Mhm.
But do we really need to seek out organic linen, or would just conventionally grown linen be fine and then maybe have the GOT certification, or what should we be looking for in terms of linen?
Yeah, so this is kind of where you get down to splitting hairs. There are some great arguments to be made about why you should be really seeking out organic in all things whenever you can, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm certainly not discrediting that. From a realistic standpoint, a lot of linen is a great choice because, to your point, you're not needing to you're using a fraction of what it takes to protect the plant from what it would take to protect cotton from the bugs and in that
Yeah.
environment. So I would say for me, I am pretty extreme with my wardrobe and I will wear regular cotton or sorry, regular linen,
Uh-huh.
but I'm also very particular with who I purchase from. Like I want to know, who's making it, where is it being made, how is it being made? And that sounds aggressive, but I take it very seriously. I also want to support the right small business, right? I want to keep
Yeah.
businesses, in business whose mentality is one of which I want to make the world a better place. And I'm doing everything I possibly can to do that. And I'm not perfect, but I am trying to be better every day in being able to provide something that is benefiting human beings, not hurting them. So, Yeah, I would say I think it's fine. It's going to be way better. Linen itself is hypoallergenic and antibacterial. So
Yep.
that's another important thing to remember too. And actually, wool is similar in that. And so there are natural components to it that are actually actively working anyways to clean itself, right? That's why linen is used in hospitals even today in a lot of places. Unfortunately, in the United States, oftentimes it's not. But that's why you say change the linens
Yeah.
because it used to be linen and it helped wounds heal faster. It's incredible. The Egyptians used linen even, and it was a sign of luxury and royalty because it actually benefited your body. So
Yep.
they wrapped their mummies in it too because it lasts forever. So linen is an incredible fabric. I would highly recommend it. I don't think it needs to be organic. If you can find some like super, incredible non-toxic way of, growing linen in a new, great. But for the average person, buying something that's linen. Now, the other thing that matters, here you got me going about linen. It's like my favorite fabric, but the other
Yeah,
thing
me too.
the other thing that matters is who you're buying from, because if you're buying from, a big manufacturer who has linen tops and they're dousing that linen with formaldehyde and chemicals on top of it,
Yeah.
that's also not good, and why it's important to shop for, especially from like a small business
Hmm.
who is
Yeah.
committed to making something clean and ethical. So another caveat. I love to thrift linen
Yeah.
because I know, to our point earlier, thrifting is a great way to buy something, the chemicals that have been sprayed on top of it have been washed out.
Hmm.
So thrifting linen is a pro move, way cheaper. You can find really nice pieces, wash them a couple times, and you're probably going to be pretty good to go. Much better
Yeah.
off than you would be with some other fabrics.
Yeah. Yeah. Linen is. I love linen. It's my
Yeah, it's
favorite
the
fabric.
coastal grandmother. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like my goal is when I'm a little bit older, I'm gonna transition my whole wardrobe to linen all the time. I'm
Yeah.
aspire to a linen wardrobe.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Now, I don't know if you've heard this. You know how like the frequency of the fabrics, right? And there's always this argument, right? Like, oh, you can't wear linen and wool at the same time because they cancel out each other's frequency.
Hmm.
Now, I always, to me, like, I'm like, wait, let me read the Bible because they say it's in the Bible, which I know it
Hmm.
is. But then in the Bible, I understand it from the Bible saying if it's woven together.
Right.
So is it has to be woven together? Can you wear them like layer them together? Like what what are we supposed to
It's a
do?
good question. So, frequencies for me is an interesting, I get asked about this a lot because it's fascinating. So,
Mhm.
everything has a frequency. I do not deny that. I fully believe it. You can feel it. Like, especially, if you're listening to, I love putting certain frequencies on for my kids to
Yep.
listen to while we're getting ready for school, whatever. It's real and it can heal in a lot of ways. But in terms of clothing, we only have one quasi study that was done on it. I'm forgetting her
Yeah.
name, I'm blanking, but there's only one study. I will never take seriously anything with only one study. I'll consider it, and it's not that I don't believe it, but it's not truth to me yet.
Okay.
I would love more research on the frequencies of fabric. Again, do I believe that the fabrics do have frequency? Yes. Am I hesitant to say it's bad to wear linen and wool together? Yes. I think we need more data on
Yeah.
if they actually do counterbalance in a negative way. What we know and what people often talk about is the frequency of dead bodies is like the same as polyester, right? It's not, the frequency isn't good. I don't know if it's harmful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
know it's
Yeah.
not benefiting you. So I do believe, I mean, I can speak for how I feel. When I put on my linen top, I feel good. So when somebody says linen has a high frequency, I'm apt to believe them.
Yeah.
But then when I say polyester, has the same frequency as a negative body, or it's bad, I don't think polyester is good. You can, obviously, it's my least favorite. I don't. It's not even a fabric. I don't even call it a fabric. It's
You're
just my
right.
least favorite plastic of all. Right. So I'm not advocating for it. I just don't know if the frequency itself is detrimental. I just don't think it's
Uh-huh.
helpful.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
probably where I would sit today, although I would love to be disproved. If we can do more research and studies, and I think people absolutely should,
Yeah.
and it is shown that, it is harmful, I mean, I'm totally open to that. I mean, it wouldn't be the craziest thing. From the Bible, it definitely says mixed together.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is even today, when we mix, we'll say cotton and polyester, right? 60% cotton, 40% polyester, you actually can't recycle, you can't salvage that
Yeah.
product.
Yeah.
And that's interesting to me that the mixing of threads, it can no longer be used again, which is an interesting thing to think about. But
Yeah.
yeah, that frequencies is interesting. Totally open to the idea. Totally open to the idea and would love for more research to be done.
Yeah, that would be awesome if they did more research. But I know I have a friend who says that she layers her, let's say, a wool comforter and then puts it inside a linen duvet cover. And
Yeah,
I mean, and she's like,
right.
I still feel great waking up and all that stuff. So who knows,
I think if
right?
it's not, yeah, I think that's kind of my point is like, I don't think it's harming you. I don't
Yeah,
think it's
yeah,
harming you. I don't think it's maybe giving you the advantage you could have potentially,
yeah,
but I don't think
potentially.
you're, yeah, I don't
Allegedly.
think it's allegedly, I don't think it's harming you. Yeah, people, I mean, people say that all the time. And again, I just think it's important with, you always want more than one study on anything,
Yeah,
you're standing on scientifically. Intuitively, if you feel a certain way, great.
yep, exactly. But hey, the importance here is let's choose natural fabrics over synthetic dead fabrics because it's healthier for your body and for the environment, right?
Yeah, the environment's so big. It's so the I that is I think where most people hyper focused on sustainability have gone
Mhm.
wrong is also
Yeah,
not focusing on health because sustainability is actually the pendulum has swung in a direction where it's actually really harmful in terms of recycled plastic should be nowhere on our bodies. And we're seeing a lot of businesses saying we're sustainable, we're green. We use recycled ocean plastic for bathing suits. And it's like, I really appreciate the idea, right? Of
yeah,
course, but it belongs nowhere on our body. You can recycle plastic, but not when it comes to clothing. It is so
right.
unacceptable for health. It's not even funny. The more something is recycled, the more chemicals took to treat it. And on top of that, the more wear and tear these plastics have, and they're more likely to now enter into your bloodstream. Or even a lot of times athletic wear than synthetics from a
Yeah,
performance standpoint. So, like, there's a reason why, Olympic sprinters wear synthetic shorts that are basically as tight as their skin, right?
yeah,
So I would never expect them to go throw on organic cotton, running shorts. So we can't deny that, right? The
yeah,
bathing
yeah.
suits, there's a reason where literally no one owns a natural bathing suit. Okay, that being said, there's one bathing suit that I have found that is 100% natural that actually holds up doing active things in the water. I'm talking like surfing and swimming.
Huh?
And it's still not, of course, you can't expect the same level of like a Speedo bathing suit, obviously.
Yeah.
But it is Simply Merino, which is an incredible small female owned business out of Canada.
Mhm.
Ethical, clean, just amazing all around. She makes a one piece wool bathing suit.
Ooh.
And remember, I said I'm a little allergic to wool, and that's how much I
Yeah.
love this bathing suit is I don't care I'm wearing it. Like it's a little
Yeah.
itchy at first when I put it on because I'm a little sensitive, but then once I get in the water, I'm good to go. And so I wear that thing so much, it's not even funny. In fact, I need to ask her to send me another one because I mean, I'm literally just wearing it every day and then I air dry it.
That's awesome.
I've found another company who the owner had her own kind of like life-changing experience and she had a swimwear line and then she pledged to by I think maybe like 2026 move it completely into natural fibers. It's called Beach Candy
Okay.
and she has an organic section on their website, but she has a lot of bathing suits that are still synthetic, so just make sure you're going to the organic tab. And some of them aren't even advertised as bathing suits, I think because she doesn't want you to like expect a Speedo. But
Yeah.
from what it looks like, and I haven't tried her stuff yet, but looks like she has some decent options that are like a step above the crochet, like cute little
Yeah.
crochet
Yeah.
bathing suit that like can't actually go in the water. But yeah, if somebody could make, and I think that's my point of listen, we have the technology to come up with really cool stuff. And it might not be all natural. Maybe you use one non-toxic chemical. But I do think we're on the press. Like, I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to come out with new fibers in the next, 10 years that'll blow our minds in terms of efficacy and actually being non-toxic for your body. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But Simply Merino would be my number one pick for her one piece bathing suit. It's
Okay.
like $120, which frankly in the world of bathing suits is actually not even expensive. You can go
Yeah.
buy like Billabong. You buy a bottom from Billabong for just the bottoms for $100, and all it is
Right?
recycled plastic. So
Yeah. Well,
worth
that's good
looking
to
into.
know because I love Simply Merino, but every time I go look, it's just we buy it for the winter time. So I've never thought to
Yeah,
like
check it
really
out.
like, oh, so they have a one piece suit. So that's awesome. That's a good
Yes, she has
choice.
a one-piece suit. I like the suit. I think it's pretty flattering. In terms of other brands, I yes, I'm happy. I have on my Instagram page too. I have lists throughout of brands that I recommend checking out. My number one favorite right now is going to be Rowe, Rowe. My friend Barb owns it. They're out of Canada too. All these Canadians making natural, great clothing, but because the bonds
Yeah.
are weaker. So
Yep.
it's a big no from me from the sustainability community. I think we all have to remember that our bodies and our earth are one. Like what makes the earth sick makes us sick, vice versa. You cannot say it's making the earth sick. Let's put it on our bodies. Makes no sense.
Right? Yeah. I know. That's the one thing I always cringe when I see companies. We're sustainable. And then you look at it, recycled plastic.
And
No.
yeah, and in fact, like recycled plastic is oftentimes cheaper for those companies. So it's a
Yeah.
really win-win for them. They're getting
Yeah.
this, badge of honor, making it for less and then selling it to you for more because of marketing.
More.
So
God.
who's the
Yeah.
real winner? Who's
Should
the real loser?
right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, speaking of, do you have like a list of your like trusted brands? And I know, like you said, swimwear. Swimwear is one of the
Ugh,
harder things to find,
so
right?
hard.
I I've been just using this swimwear. It's from Natasha Tonic. She makes hemp with a little bit of
Oh,
spandex.
cool. I'm gonna have to look it
So
up.
yeah, yeah, she's out of LA. I'm just hoping. I've spoken with her a few times, and I was asking her like, would you be able to source your hemp eventually, like either U.S. grown or maybe Europe grown instead of China?
Yeah.
But I'm sure
Yeah.
she's gonna look into that. But yeah, that one because it's kind of hard to. Seen some that they do knitted, like
Mm-hmm.
crochet bikinis, organic cotton, but
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like
I
I
love
was
the
like,
idea,
yeah,
but
I love the
not
idea,
practical. Yeah, if only. Yeah,
right?
so bathing suits, I mean, I live on Maui. This has been something I have been screaming from the rooftop. Somebody please make me a bathing suit. I mean, but the truth of the matter is it's so difficult to
Yeah,
create a bathing suit because we've been so spoiled, quote unquote, by the effectiveness of synthetics. There's no better option for swimwear.
right.
Yeah, we are ROWE, is her Instagram. And I think it's one of the few places that makes stuff my husband actually likes to wear
Okay.
too, which is
Yeah.
important. They have some kids stuff, they have some men's stuff, some women's stuff. They also make this, it's called the Zomper for kids. It's amazing. It's a zip up, like one piece for kids, and kids
Uh,
are obsessed with it. It's made out of tencel lyocell, which is one of my favorite more modern fabrics. So I would highly recommend Row. Let's see. There's several other brands just kind of depending on what you're looking for. My new favorite one for women wanting to dress up, like have a few really cute outfits, or maybe one you can wear to work, or one that looks very professional but is very flattering and also is all natural and doesn't have toxic dyes, is Devin Gregory.
mhm.
So she's out of San Francisco. She's incredible too. Devin Gregory makes beautiful clothes, and they are definitely capsule pieces. So that's
Yeah.
something they're more expensive. That's going to be a top you buy and you wear for the rest of your life because you're taking care of it, and it is beautiful. She has an incredible process. She uses a facility in France that makes completely non-toxic dyes and prints. She's amazing. So that's probably my new favorite as of now today for fun stuff is Devin Gregory.
We're gonna have all these things in the show notes because I'm gonna look it up
Yeah,
too.
I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm so happy. I can give a short list of it's hard on the spot because there's actually a lot of
Yeah.
really cool small companies doing
Hmm.
fantastic things in this space, and I can totally list a few for people to start. Again, Row is probably my favorite family pick. Simply Merino is always amazing too. If you like wool, she is incredible. Just an incredible person too. From what I can tell online, she's just really good about transparency and sustainability. Row's the same way, and then yeah, Devin Grigori, and then I'm trying to think if there's I really love the concept of known. They are KNOWN, known.
They used to be.
They
Is
do,
it? Did they used to be called Outer Known and they rebranded?
that's different.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe but there's still an outer known, which is, I think Kelly Slater has some ownership in it. That's a company right now. But I don't know, maybe known rebranded. But this known is definitely separate than the current outer known.
Okay.
And they're the ones who have like on the tag, there's a what's it called? A barcode. What are the
Kind of like a
what's the thing I'm
barcode you can.
thinking?
Oh, QR code.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
QR code.
scan.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, today is hard. Okay, yeah. So they have QR codes where you can scan and see who like made the piece of clothing, which I find really fascinating. And they're moving more towards organic stuff too. So I like them for more of like an ethical initiative movement. I think they're really cool. But yeah, those would be my places to start. Frankly, there are lots of places, especially if you're on a budget, where you can go. Like Target has a like Burt's Bees, PJs
Hmm. Yeah.
are a great place to start if you aren't, able to shop small and buy one piece that's more expensive and you have to pay shipping. Like there's some lines, Cat and Jack makes some organic stuff at Target sometimes. I'm just not ever vocal about those brands because I don't believe in their overall mission,
Yeah.
and I would
Yeah.
be hesitant to believe everything they say just because they're large corporations.
Yeah.
But there are ways to be better that may be a little bit more approachable.
Yeah. Exactly. Like you don't have to immediately start up there. Just do what you
Yeah.
can. But yeah, I also choose. I tend to choose like the smaller family-owned business where you
Yes.
really are able to talk to them and you know that they're transparent. Like we have certain kind of like I have certain values that I want to make sure that's aligned with mine, before
Yep.
I can support that company. But of course, I've been in this like low tox lifestyle since 2010. So, like let's not like compare our journeys. If you're just starting, like let's start where we can, like meet yourself in the middle and don't make the overwhelm stop you from making the changes. It's
Right,
great for your
exactly.
body.
I could have said it better. And the other thing too is that will hopefully be helpful. I'll talk about two things here quickly that I think will be maybe fun for the audience. But I don't know when this is going to air, but I am going to release a non-toxic, low or small business holiday gift guide. And I'm really excited about that. I'm not getting any kickbacks. I'm not doing affiliate links or any of that. I don't have anything against it. I just want people to know that these are just straight up recommendations. I'm not getting paid for to say this. And it is really truly a master list of things and items that I've compiled that I think are really epic. Companies with amazing missions, making clean things that the family will enjoy and love. And I've used myself or bought most of them. Not
Yeah.
all of them, but I'm making sure that if I haven't personally tried it and loved it, I know somebody who has. So
Yeah.
look out for that because that would be really helpful for holiday shopping in a cognizant, ethical, amazing way. So I'm going to launch that on Wednesday or Thursday this week. And then I am also doing something really cool, which is with my friend Val Emanuel. And she owns a period care company called Riff. And they
Okay.
make amazing hemp and organic cotton period items. Val's an incredible human being with a big heart. And so, what her and I are launching is a movement called Hometown Revival. And it is essentially meant to breathe life back into USA manufacturing. And that counts for the mills that weave our cotton. It counts for the farmers who grow it. And not just cotton, of course, hemp and other amazing materials. But the point being is almost the entire manufacturing industry, especially when it comes to fabric, has left the United States for a myriad of reasons. NAFTA, COVID, a certain presidency, and I'm not a political person, but I'm also not afraid to talk about policy that has crippled our country in certain ways. And so we're really using the climate right now and the opportunity to revive hometown businesses when it comes to manufacturing. So we're launching that this week too. So keep an eye on that. We're also launching a podcast about that where we're going to be documenting the journey of doing our best to help people breathe life back into this country and manufacturing with an emphasis on clean and organic living, which I think will be epic. I think all of these things can be married. Historically, we've kind of seen the like manufacturing world as like so separate from clean organic living. But the truth of the matter is it's all married. Regenerative agriculture, is married to the blue collar working class and also the people who are like obsessively living this like privileged, non-toxic life. Like it doesn't have to be so separate. We can make this a movement that really bridges those gaps that we've seen historically. So definitely keep an eye out for that. I'm really excited about that movement.
Yeah, that sounds so exciting. I'm gonna have to look out for that too. Because yeah, a lot we know that once these, I know that they, you know how like because it's crossing the seas and whatever, they get a lot of our clothes are sprayed with chemicals, and that's why
Totally.
there's that GOTS where from seed to everything in manufacturing is all clean. Like, but yeah, like it's buyers beware. So we shouldn't
Yeah.
be thinking about these things, right? We should just be like,
And totally. And I hate to be this person again. Here I go again. But honestly, there's a lot of chinks in the GOTS armor
mm,
too.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
in theory, it's a great way to make some progress. And I am not taking away from, any business who goes the extra mile to be better. But I've heard story out of story from the horse's mouth about instances, and unfortunately, it's not all too uncommon to have total manipulation of the GOT system. So
oh yeah,
bringing it home is great in a lot of ways. You have more control in terms of testing, regulation, those processes. USDA organic is, in my opinion, obsessively researching all of this, talking to farmers, talking to mills owners, people who have been running mills since the 60s, is USDA certified organic in the United States is so much better than GOTS.
yeah, yeah,
And in today's climate, it's almost impossible for a small business, especially to manufacture in the United States. Almost impossible. And that's the purpose of this movement is let's see if we can open up a market where small businesses have an option to manufacture here, boots on the ground. You can, inspect the ethical standards. You can inspect the quality of the product. You're also boosting the US economy, your hometown economy. And there's an amazing story to tell there too along the entire way. So that's the
I love
that's the
that.
mission.
I know I've heard about GOTS about because they're not really inspecting each company. They're just getting all the certifications from these companies, and it's
It's a
all
money-making business. Yeah,
yeah,
and while I know some, manufacturers take it very seriously, oftentimes it's very hard to tell which ones are just kind of checking off boxes and
yeah,
choosing to do whatever they want
yeah,
anyways, or the ones who are really, living by the certification. So
yeah.
again, I'm not certainly not saying it's not a good place to start. I'm just saying I think there's even better options.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's a great starting point. It's kind of like using those scanning apps for products and food. It's like a great starting point, but it's not
Right.
perfect. But
Perfect.
we're not trying to be
Yes.
perfect here, but
Right.
we're trying to do better.
Totally. I totally
Yeah.
agree.
All right. Well, I think that we should end this on this note, but I would love to have a more conversation with you in another episode because I
Yeah.
enjoy this. Like I
Yep.
love,
Same.
yeah, yeah, I love it. All right. Well, make sure everyone follows Hannah. I might move around my schedule so that we can release the episode before you when you launch or even like before Christmas. At least they can still do the
Yeah.
shopping, or they can
Yep.
always get it on Instagram, right? Or maybe in a
Yeah.
newsletter or something like that.
Totally. I will have it on the feed on Instagram. You can always go back and you can save the post is what I'll recommend doing because it's a really good working place to the next time you need a new pair of pants, you can go back and look at a couple businesses I've recommended there. Or the next time you're looking for a red light machine, definitely want to get it out before the holidays in case people are still needing to buy gifts or they're wanting to buy gifts. Another thing I
Yeah.
recommend is just gifting experiences. If you are looking for products, yeah, it's a great place to start.
Yeah, and it's always I love gifting like thoughtfully and not just like I need to buy someone a gift. I'm gonna buy it quickly and it's not even kind of like relevant to their life or I don't
Yeah,
know.
totally. I totally agree. But yeah, I'll put it on my Instagram page. It's going to be called the Non-Toxic Holiday Gift Guide, and you can save it and use it for the rest of the year and even next year for gifts.
Right. And she's Hannah Dunning 11 on
Yep,
Instagram. All right.
that's me.
All
That's
right.
me.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Hannah. And I hope to get you on here again next time.
Thanks for having me, Fatima. This is really fun. Don't get me talking about non-toxic living. I could talk about this for days, clearly. Thanks for having
No,
me.
we're gonna talk about that next time.
Okay, fair. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please click the subscribe button. Share it with others, post about it in social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me or suggest topics, you can follow me on Instagram at Fatima Pagtakan or at The Wellness Rebel Show. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.